third struggle that we're going to talk about is we are approaching break. We're approaching a short Thanksgiving break and a longer winter break for most people in the United States. That's how it works. And I mean that winter break is a good chunk of time for most. And so how do we make the most out of this time that we have together? What are some ideas that we have for that, Joanna?
Yeah. To anyone listening, raise your hand if you have ever gotten to the end of a break or a vacation and you said to yourself, oh my word, I need a vacation from my vacation. Like that happens to me every other time, right? Um,
Every
honestly, yeah, like it goes
especially with
to,
our kids.
Yeah.
Especially
oh
with
gosh,
kids. It's hard. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it depends on who you're with.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah.
the biggest factor,
Yeah.
especially
Hmm.
when it comes
That's
to
yeah.
holiday breaks, right? When you're probably going to family get-togethers and some of them are fun, but maybe a little dramatic. It's all kind of stereotypical, but true, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so it really comes down to intention. You know, we were talking earlier about taking those sick days. And here's a controversial idea. What if you put that day on the calendar at the beginning of the year so that you had all that time in the world to plan for it? And then when the day hits, you were ready for it and you could just take the day for whatever. Same thing goes for your vacation. I mean, they're on the calendar, right? You know when your school break is, you know how many days off there are. So take that moment whenever you can. I know you're busy,
Hmm.
but if you can take that moment or two to really consider what kind of rest you need on that break. And just like self care has different categories, rest actually has different categories too. There's an awesome TED talk on this that I think we can include in the materials. I highly recommend it. Talking about the different kinds of rest. I think we always just assume physical rest, maybe emotional rest. I'm such an introvert. I always needed a break from like my face just needed a break. You know, I get to the end of a school day and I'm like, oh, I had to
So
emote
much
all day.
smiling.
So much smiling, right? But you know, you get to the end of a semester and you're like, yeah, I need like a 3-week detox from all human interaction just for me, right? So thinking of the different kinds of rest, even I love this one, the idea of creative rest. You know, as teachers, we're super creative coming up with cool projects and lesson plans and bulletin boards and all that kind of stuff. But that's for your job. And at the end of the day, sometimes it does kind of feel like work and your creativity feels a little bit worn down. So I love the idea of when you do a little staycation and maybe you redecorate a room that just feels stale to you, or you know, the bathroom could use a fresh coat of paint. Painting for me is actually super soothing. I don't know about the rest of you. Maybe some of you hate it, but
Hmm.
I actually really love it. And every time we've painted rooms, it's during a break like that. And it feels so good. You get a fresh environment out of it and it's just something different. And you didn't have to do it for work. You did it for your space at home. So I would say, you know, when you approach a break or a vacation or anything like that, think about what kind of rest you feel the most need for and build that into your break. I know it's
Mm.
hard to look ahead. I think a lot of times we're just racing to the finish line, like just get me to the break so I can have the break. And then you take 3 or 4 days just to make peace with the fact that you're finally on break, that you just kind of wasted those 4 days with nothing, right? So if you can approach it with just a moment of reflection, do I need creative rest? Do I need emotional rest? Do I need spiritual rest? It's a lot of the same categories as self-care, hint, hint. But building that in, setting a few boundaries. Maybe you don't want to spend your entire break at grandpa and grandma's house. I get that. So maybe you just say, hey, we'll come for the day, and then take the rest of your break for you, for your family, whoever you want to spend time with. Maybe there's a friend that you wanted to reconnect with. That's a good time. A lot of times they have a little bit of vacation time too. So when I think about those breaks, make the most out of it with just a dose of intention. It can make all the difference between getting to the end of break feeling like you have no idea what you just did and getting into that second semester actually feeling replenished and ready to connect with your students again.
Yeah, and I think our leaders, especially our principals and assistant principals who are constantly so busy and don't have a lot of time to answer emails and do things that they need to do. They work through the break because that's their time when it's quiet in the building. And so really just encouraging people to take advantage of and I couldn't necessarily rest as a teacher until the work was done, until the majority of my to-do list was done. So if what you need is to take one day to kind of wrap that stuff up so you can relax your brain, then do that. But I hate to hear it when leaders are like, I used my entire break to work. I'll get back to you during winter break because the teachers are gone and I finally have some quiet. So just making sure that the break happens, I think, is number one for a lot of people, who, especially in leadership roles. I connected with your painting idea. I painted my entire basement not that long ago, just because not only did it feel good for it to be done, but it also like gave me something to do with my hands, and I put on great music and danced around. And there's a guest room that's painted in there and an entire basement. So, is it beautiful looking? I mean, it's a beautiful paint color because Corey picked it, but is it beautiful looking? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I did it and it's done. And I told my dad the other day, if you see any issues, because he was staying in the guest room, there's a paint pail down there and a brush. You just take the brush and you fix it. And don't tell me about it. Just go ahead and fix it and it'll be fine. So I connect with that very much.
I love
Yeah,
that.
work smarter, not harder. I love that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and again, like remembering it's okay to ask for help. It's always great to offer help with individuals when you see some signs that people are just really starting to, you know, not manage their own self expectations well, especially during this time, especially if they're newer. Just letting them know, like, hey, you know, what you're trying to do is wonderful. It's not a requirement. It's not, you know, an expectation. And also this is normal to feel this way. Like even if you say no to that thing, you're still probably going to feel overwhelmed and that's okay. Like that's just the season of where we are. But I think this is such an issue with educators because education is not our job. We are educators. Like it is a part of our identity. And so it makes it hard to set down. It makes it hard to prioritize. I mean, it is just part of who we are. And so just remember for everyone watching that you and those around you are more than just an educator. You are artists and sometimes painters and, you know, people who make healthy decisions, maybe not all the time, every day, 100%, but you have healthy decisions that you can make every day. And so I think that's just something that I as a leader always try to, and as a friend and as a mom and as a sister, like try to do for those around me. And because I always know it feels good when people do that for me, that say like, hey, Corey, you're more than this. So like, how is that? How's this other thing? Here's this other facet of your life. What are you doing for this? So I think that's important. Joanna, it's been so nice to talk with you. Like I feel like your voice is such a nice, calming and reassuring voice. I know we have to wrap up, but I want to end with kind of a final question for you, which is, you know, we've talked about these kind of three struggles and some possible interventions and just things to consider and ask ourselves or ask others. But when it comes to our health, as an educator specifically, you know, if you were to pick one area of health that you'd say, if you were going to pick one thing, this would be the thing, what would you say?
Oh, yeah. Everyone has kind of their pet health habit, and that's good. I'm sure it's hard for a lot of people, but if you're going to focus on one thing to have the most bang for your buck, I have to go with sleep. Sleep unlocks everything else that you're trying to do. And I know here I am saying this like it's easy. I know it is not easy. But remember that dial analogy. You don't have to just flip a switch and get good sleep. That's not how it works. But I will say, giving even just a little bit of attention to sleep, I can't tell you how many people I've worked with where they make this change, and like they're feeling pretty good. But once they focus on their sleep, oh my word, everything else just falls into place because your body has that time to recover, your brain has that time to recover. Your mood, I mean, let's just go with your mood, is instantly better when you get a good night's sleep. So if you're not sure where to start, that's going to be where I say to start. Totally worth it.
I love it. I want to know how much Kim's sleep increases with her weighted blanket. I feel like that would help me, especially in these like colder months. I don't know. Are you going to use it for
Yeah.
full-time sleep, or is it more of like a couch aid?
No, I can't. I can't do it for a long period of time. I actually get anxious if it's on too long. However, it's like very strange how it works. It's good for like, I don't like hugs, remember?
That's right.
So like
That's
a
right.
little while it works and then I need to take it off. But I will agree there's a direct correlation between how I'm feeling and sleep. Was like sick for a little while and I wasn't sleeping a lot and I was like, this is terrible. You gotta do something about this. But yes, there's a direct correlation between how I'm feeling and sleep, and it's really something that is a game changer. So I agree with that one.
It is.
And for me, I think it's activity, doing something active. I know it's cold, but I put on my winter coat and I go outside and I have to. And I listen to music, and that's
because you live in Chicago, you have to, and you got to walk everywhere because it takes too long to drive.
That's true. That's true. Driving increases my anxiety. Walking, so we walk.
I love it.
Always
I love it.
choice.
Well, Joanna, for all of our audience members, be sure to download the notes and takeaways for our episode today. All of those resources, that TED Talk, which is awesome. I didn't realize all the different types of rest, and so I loved seeing some of those on there in that TED Talk. Check it out, and you can also find out ways to follow Joanna on social media. So. Thanks so much for sharing. I know when you and I were talking previously, you said this is a passion of yours, and so thanks for coming and sharing your passion with us. As Kim said, it's so timely. So we feel these struggles very much. So thank you.
You are most welcome. This was super fun. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on again. All right, folks. Well, tune in. Be sure if you're not on the gram yet. I mean, Kim and I joined just to be able to do some fun stuff for Coach Replay this year. It's not the only way to see our content each week, but it's one of the best ways. It's the first place we put that. And so we'd love for you to join us and follow us. But also make sure you're subscribed here in whatever platform you're watching us on so you don't miss an episode, because these guest interviews are always some of our favorites. So thanks so much, and we'll see you all again soon, and have a wonderful holiday break, y'all.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye, everyone.
Bye.